Welcome to US Numismatics. In today's video, we're diving into the fascinating world of rare Washington quarter dollar coins, those ordinary-looking coins that could actually be worth a fortune. From minting errors to low mintage surprises, these hidden gems might be sitting in your pocket right now. Stay tuned as we uncover the most valuable Washington quarters that every collector should know about. Top 1 today. We're diving into the story of a coin that you've probably held in your hand before, or walked past without thinking twice. But what if I told you that one ordinary-looking coin could actually be a hidden fortune in disguise? We're talking about none other than the 1965 Washington quarter, a coin that's older than many of us, yet still holds incredible secrets. Stick around, because this seemingly common coin might just be one of the most exciting pieces you could find in your pocket change. Now, let's rewind time just a bit. Before 1965, quarters in the United States were made of 90% silver. But due to rising silver prices and increasing demand, the U.S. Mint made a huge decision that would change American coinage forever. In 1965, they removed silver entirely from quarters and started using a copper-nickel-clad composition instead. But here's where things get very interesting. During the transition from silver to clad coins, some 1965 quarters were mistakenly struck on leftover silver planchets. Those are the blank discs used to make coins. These silver planchet errors are extremely rare, and finding one today is like uncovering a time capsule, except this one could be worth thousands of dollars. That's right, a small minting error like that turns this quarter into a collector's dream, and that's not the only anomaly to look for. Some 1965 quarters were mistruck, have double die errors, or even off-center designs. These imperfections, which happen during the minting process, create coins that are truly one of a kind. And in the world of numismatics, one of a kind is exactly what collectors are hunting for. But how do you know if your 1965 quarter is one of these rare varieties? Well, first, check the edge of the coin. If it looks completely silver with no visible copper core, there's a chance it could be one of those ultra-rare silver planchet errors. You might want to weigh the coin too. A standard clad quarter should weigh about 5.67 grams, while a silver one will come in closer to 6.25 grams. That tiny difference could mean a massive change in value. Collectors love coins that tell a story, and the 1965 Washington quarter tells a story of change, of transition, and of hidden value. It's a coin born at the crossroads of American coinage, and even though over 1 billion were minted, only a tiny fraction have the rare characteristics that turn them into treasure. Now imagine this: you're sorting through old pocket change, or maybe going through your grandparents' coin jar, and you stumble upon a 1965 quarter. It looks like the others, but it feels just a bit heavier. You do a little research. Maybe you weigh it, examine the edges, and compare it to others. And then the realization hits you: this might not be an ordinary coin after all. It might just be one of the rarest quarters still in circulation. For coin lovers and collectors, that's what makes the hunt so exciting. It's not just about value, it's about discovery. It's about holding a piece of history in your hand and knowing that only a few others in the world share something so rare. And now, for the part you've all been waiting for. How much can a rare 1965 Washington quarter be worth if it has those special error characteristics, is in pristine uncirculated condition, or happens to be one of the ultra-rare silver strike errors? Well, one of these coins, yes, a single quarter, has sold for as much as $72,000. That's right. A coin that was originally worth just 25 cents is now worth more than a luxury car, or even a down payment on a house. So, the next time you get change back from the store, don't overlook those old quarters. Top 2. We're about to take a deep dive into a coin that millions of people have seen, but only a rare few have ever truly looked at closely. Today's spotlight is on the 1971 Washington quarter, a coin you might think is ordinary, but what if I told you that within this very year and design lies a version so rare, so valuable, that it's been known to fetch a life-changing sum at auction? Let's start with the basics. The Washington quarter has been a staple of American pocket change since 1932. But by 1971, the coin had already undergone a major transformation. Just 6 years earlier, in 1965, the U.S. Mint removed silver from circulation quarters, replacing it with a copper-nickel clad. The 1971 quarter was one of the early full-production runs of this new composition. And while most people would overlook a 1971 quarter as nothing more than lunch money, seasoned collectors know better. Why? Because not all 1971 quarters are created equal. While hundreds of millions were minted, only a very small number carry the kind of hidden flaws or rare characteristics that make them truly exceptional. And it's these errors, these happy accidents, that turn a simple coin into a collector's prize. Some 1971 quarters were struck on the wrong metal planchet, such as those left over from earlier coins, like silver dimes or even foreign planchets that somehow made their way into U.S. mint machinery. That's right. A few 1971 quarters have been discovered struck on silver planchets, even though silver was no longer supposed to be in use. These pieces not only defy the mint's official standards but also become instant rarities the moment they leave the press. There are also known examples of double die obverse errors, where the text and imagery on the front of the coin appear slightly doubled. These doubling effects, especially if visible on the motto, "In God We Trust," or on Washington's profile, are like neon signs to collectors that scream, "This coin is special." And then there are the off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and broad-struck coins, all types of minting errors that add uniqueness and desirability. The more dramatic and well-preserved the error, the more collectors are willing to pay, but let's not forget the factor that drives serious value in the coin world: condition. A 1971 quarter that's been tossed in drawers, spent at vending machines, and circulated for decades will likely never be worth more than face value. But a quarter from 1971 that has been preserved in mint state, showing little to no wear, with original luster and sharp details, that's a completely different story. These are the coins that get graded by professionals, sealed in cases, and auctioned to the highest bidder. And here's where it gets really exciting. Because when rarity, mint error, and flawless condition come together in one single coin, that coin can command an astonishing price. Imagine holding a coin that most people would consider pocket change, but yours happens to be one of the few with a rare minting error, struck in pristine condition, and verified by experts. A coin like that becomes more than currency, it becomes a piece of history, a collector's gem, and a serious investment. And now, for the moment you've been waiting for, the question we all want answered: how much can a rare 1971 Washington quarter actually be worth? Well, one of these rare examples has sold for as much as $72,000. That's right. A coin originally worth just 25 cents, less than the price of a cup of coffee, has become worth more than most people make in a year. Top 3. We're about to uncover the mystery behind one of the most overlooked coins in American pockets, the 1982 Washington quarter. At first glance, it might look just like any other quarter you've used to buy a soda or feed a parking meter. But listen closely, because this coin holds secrets that even experienced collectors often miss, and if you're lucky enough to spot the right one, it could change your life in ways you never imagined. Let's take a moment to set the scene. The year is 1982. America is recovering from economic recession, inflation is high, and the cost of materials, including the cost to produce coins, is under serious scrutiny by the U.S. Mint. That year, a critical decision was made: the Mint would not produce uncirculated coin sets for the public, something they had done for decades. That one change created a ripple effect that would make certain 1982 quarters much rarer than others. So what does this mean for collectors? Well, here's where it gets really interesting, because no uncirculated sets were made that year. The only 1982 quarters that survived in top-notch condition came from general circulation. Most were spent, scratched, worn down, or tossed into change jars and forgotten. Finding a 1982 quarter in pristine, mint state condition is incredibly difficult. And that's just the beginning of the story. Now, let's talk about the mint mark mystery. In 1982, quarters were struck at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints. But here's the catch: for the first time since the early 1970s, the Philadelphia Mint added a P mint mark to the coin. It seems simple, but it caused a lot of confusion, and today, collectors look closely at the mint marks to identify rare versions of the coin. Even more intriguing is the no mint mark error. Some 1982 quarters have been found without any mint mark at all, not from wear, but because the mint mark was never stamped in the first place. These missing mint mark errors are rare and highly sought after, and if that wasn't enough, 1982 was also the year when the mint switched to using slightly different dies. This led to coins with visible design inconsistencies, slightly different fonts, misaligned dates, and even weak or missing details. Coins with these anomalies are often classified as varieties, and when combined with high-grade condition, they become prized finds in the world of numismatics. But here's the real treasure: error coins. Some 1982 Washington quarters have been found with striking errors, such as double dies, where the letters and numbers appear doubled due to a misalignment during the minting process. Others may have off-center strikes, clipped planchets, or coins struck on the wrong metal blanks. Each of these errors increases a coin's uniqueness and value dramatically. Now imagine this: a 1982 quarter with a rare error, in near-perfect condition, maybe even with no mint mark. A coin like that is a true collector's gem. It's not just old, it's historic. Not just unusual, it's valuable. And in the hands of the right collector, it could command a price that makes your jaw drop. But how much, exactly, how much could a small piece of copper and nickel be worth, if it has all the right traits? A coin that's been hiding in plain sight for over 40 years, passed from hand to hand, unnoticed, until now. Well, one of these extraordinary 1982 Washington quarters, featuring the right combination of rarity, mint condition, and a dramatic mint error, has sold for an unbelievable amount, and that amount is $85,000. That's right. A single quarter. Just 25 cents in face value, now worth more than most people's annual salary. Top 4. We're diving into a modern-era coin that most people would never give a second glance, yet within certain rare examples lies a jaw-dropping secret. It's the 1994 Washington quarter, and what you're about to hear could completely change the way you look at your pocket change forever. Now, 1994 may not seem like an especially distant year. In the grand timeline of U.S. coinage, it's relatively recent. Bill Clinton was president, the internet was just taking off, and millions of Washington quarters were being struck and circulated across the country. To most people, the 1994 quarter is just another ordinary coin. But to those in the know, to sharp-eyed collectors, this particular year hides a few rare gems that are anything but ordinary. Let's start with a bit of background. The Washington quarter series began in 1932, and by 1994, it had already become a staple of American currency. These coins were no longer made with silver like their pre-1965 counterparts, but instead struck from a copper-nickel-clad composition. Still, even without silver content, some modern quarters like the 1994 issue have become incredibly valuable, not because of the metal, but because of how they were minted, and the unique flaws that occurred in the process. You see, most 1994 quarters were struck perfectly and went on to circulate widely. But a few, just a tiny handful, were struck with errors so rare and so dramatic that they've become the target of serious collectors and investors alike. Let's talk about errors, because this is where the real excitement begins. Point 1. Of the most sought-after types is the off-metal strike, when a quarter is accidentally struck on a blank meant for another coin, such as a nickel or a dime. The result is a quarter that looks wrong in size, weight, or color, instantly rare and fascinating. There have been confirmed examples of 1994 quarters struck on the wrong planchet, and when they surface, they turn heads at auctions. Then there are the double die errors, where the design appears slightly duplicated, especially around the text like, "In God We Trust," "Liberty," or the date itself. These doubling effects are extremely popular among collectors. They prove that something went wrong at the mint, and because these errors are so hard to find, they command impressive premiums. We also see clipped planchets, where a piece of the coin is literally missing due to a misfeed during the blanking process. While minor clips are interesting, dramatic clips that are easy to see can increase a coin's value several times over. Let's not forget off-center strikes, where the design is visibly misaligned, showing a blank crescent on one edge of the coin. The more off-center the strike, while still keeping the date visible, the more valuable it becomes. But here's something even more fascinating: 1,994 quarters that were struck with die breaks or cuds, raised, odd-looking blobs on the surface caused by broken dies. These are considered minting anomalies and can add to the uniqueness and collectability of the coin, and of course, the holy grail of modern coin errors, finding one that combines multiple errors on a single coin. Imagine a 1994 quarter with an off-center strike and struck on the wrong metal. That's the kind of coin collectors dream about, but even without errors, what if you found a 1994 quarter that looked as if it was struck yesterday, sharp, uncirculated, and gleaming with full mint luster? That's a rare sight. Why? Because most quarters from the 1990s have been used heavily in everyday transactions. They've been through parking meters. Top 5. We're diving into one of the most surprising coins in recent memory, the 2021 Washington quarter. Yes, you heard that right. A coin minted just a few years ago, still in circulation, and yet, one rare version of it is worth a small fortune. This isn't some dusty antique from the 1800s. This is a modern-day quarter that might be sitting in your pocket right now. But don't be fooled by its age, because if you know what to look for, the 2021 quarter can be one of the most exciting finds in all of modern numismatics. Now, what makes the 2021 Washington quarter so special? Let's start with the design. This coin features a transitional design. On the obverse, we still have the familiar face of George Washington, but something had shifted in the air. It was the final year of the long-running America the Beautiful quarters, which celebrated U.S. national parks and landmarks, and also the year that marked the transition to the Washington crossing the Delaware reverse design. This design change marked a historic moment for the Washington quarter series. The reverse now shows General George Washington commanding his troops across the icy Delaware River during the Revolutionary War, a powerful image of courage, leadership, and determination. And while millions of these coins were struck, not all of them were perfect. In fact, this is where things get very interesting. Some 2021 quarters were minted with serious errors, and those are the coins that can turn a casual collector into a lucky jackpot winner. Let's talk about some of the most sought-after errors on 2021 quarters. Point 1 of the most famous is the die clash error. This happens when the dies that stamp the coin collide with each other without a planchet, the blank coin, in between. The result? Parts of one side's design appear faintly on the other. It's like a ghostly imprint, and collectors absolutely love it. Several 2021 quarters with visible die clash marks have been discovered, and their value can climb fast. Then there's the strike-through error, when debris, grease, or even a piece of fabric gets between the die and the planchet during the strike. The affected area can look smooth, blank, or oddly textured. On a fresh coin like the 2021 quarter, that kind of anomaly stands out big time. Point 1 of the most valuable error types, however, is the off-center strike. This occurs when the coin isn't properly aligned during the minting process. The more off-center the strike, and the more visible the date, the more valuable the coin becomes. If you find a 2021 quarter that's off-center and still shows 2021, you could be holding a serious collectible. But perhaps the rarest of all are the double die errors. These coins show clear doubling on letters and numbers, especially in the words, "In God We Trust," or "Liberty." They happen when the die itself was improperly engraved and struck twice, and they're incredibly rare on such new coins. But they do exist. What makes these errors even more remarkable is how few of them have been discovered so far. Because this coin is still so young, many people aren't looking closely enough yet. Most 2021 quarters go straight from your pocket to a cash register, never given a second thought. That means valuable error coins are still out there, just waiting to be found. Now, let's talk about condition. A 2021 Washington quarter that's rare and flawed is valuable, but if it's also in pristine, mint state condition? That's the golden ticket. Coins that are uncirculated and perfectly preserved, especially with dramatic errors, can fetch massive premiums. And here's the thing, when the right coin ends up in the right auction, the results can be shocking. So how much could a rare, error-filled, perfectly preserved 2021 Washington quarter be worth? Well, believe it or not, one of these modern-day marvels, featuring a striking mint error, superb condition, and all the right attributes, has sold for an absolutely stunning amount. That value? $99,000, yes. A coin minted just a short time ago. A quarter that could still be in circulation. A 25-cent piece that turned into nearly $100,000. That's the magic of numismatics. It's not always